Hello, and welcome to Reaper Wargaming, the channel discussing all things 40k. Today we're looking at the Officio Assassinorum and whether they're worth it in 9th edition. With the significant changes to the character rule in Lookout Sir, how do the Assassins of the Imperium fare on the tabletop? In the lore, the 4 Assassins of the Imperium are specialised genetically altered humans moulded to fit a specific need and deal with threats when a scalpel is required over a sledgehammer. To that end, the Imperium created the 4 temples from which all of the Assassins hail. Assassins target all enemies of the Imperium, both within and without, and besides a lethal addiction to protein bars, can survive significant damage before being taken down. Being special units, they have some unique rules which help set them apart. GW finally solidified the rules for Assassins in the War of the Spider and how you can have them tag along with your army. This makes common sense both fluff-wise and game-wise. Assassins aren't supposed to interact with the forces they deploy alongside, so why would they affect an entire Imperial Guards regiment's abilities? Agents of the Imperium allows you to include one model with the Agent of the Imperium keyword in your list without the rest of your army losing its abilities, e.g. combat doctrines. This is awesome, as you can pick your favourite heavily armed gymnast and have them run amok and still have your army's cool rules on top. For those wishing to get the band back together, you can include all 4 assassins in your army as a vanguard detachment without a HQ choice if your warlord has the Imperium keyword. No fallen allowed anymore. Sad times. Independent Operative allows you to set these guys up in deep strike and pop out at the end of your movement phase with a smile and a Pop-Tart ready to cause some havoc. Thanks to all those protein bars, Assassins have a 4+ invulnerable save, handy and in line with 9th edition's new invulnerable save system. This gives them all some staying power and helps them keep alive longer. All Assassins cost 100 points, a strength and toughness 4 and have 5 wounds, with the exception being the Eversaw who has 6. They all have a 2+ on hitting and shooting, and all move 7 inches. 5 wounds sounds like a lot, but in addition clearly ramping up the damage of firepower and weaponry in general, an invulnerable save matters more than before, as you can lose one of these guys really quickly now. A universal stratagem is priority threat neutralized, a 0 CP strat that gives you 1 command point if you kill a character model with an assassin. If you kill the enemy warlord, it's 2 command points. As it can only be used once for each enemy character, it's variable, but still useful, and nice to get a freebie for doing your job. As other 0 CP stratagems like Knowledge of the Foe have disappeared, this stratagem's days could be numbered. The answer to the question, what would happen if you gave steroids, alchemy and a machete to an MMA fighter who listened to nothing but German speed metal, the Eversaw Assassin is one serious weapon. With 6 wounds and a base of 6 attacks, he can do some damage. On the charge, he gets to roll 3d6 instead of 2, and adds 2 attacks if he charged or made a heroic intervention. He has some cool abilities on top of the extra attacks. Killing Rampage allows you to immediately make 1 additional attack with the same melee weapon for each enemy model you killed, and allows the Eversaw to consolidate 6 inches instead of 3. The probability of him making a 9-inch charge skyrockets from 28% to 74% with a 3d6 roll, so this crazy cat is more than likely going to make it in. With the extra attacks taking him up to 8 and hitting on 2s, he can make a dint, but it all depends on the target he goes after. Against a 5-man unit of intercessors, you can statistically expect him to kill only one of them. Not great. But going after low armor save units like orcs nets much better results. Using the Neuro Gauntlet for a strength 5 -1 AP weapon nets you a probability of 65.5% chance of killing 6 of them with re-rolling wounds. He has some cool stratagems too, with hypermetabolism costing 1 CP, used at the beginning of any phase giving him a 4-up feel no pain, and Stim Overload costing 2 CP and used at the end of the fight phase to fight an additional time that phase, but he suffers a mortal wound on a d6 roll of a 1, 2 or 3 at the end. Not a bad trade-off for a guy that allows you to fight again. If you should get through all of the Eversaw's wounds and kill him, he can then blow up on a 4+, causing a d3 mortal wounds to the enemy unit that killed him. Talk about leaving an impression. Best taken against armies with horde units like cultists and guardsmen, Otherwise, the Eversaw can be a bit of a waste of points. The Vindicator has been put in an awkward position with the new character rules. With his extra long Exodus sniper rifle, you stick him near the back on an objective and he'd be protected by the 8th edition character rule. Now that can't happen, he is essentially 100 points of dead weight. With only one shot, he can hit on a 2+ if he doesn't move, but will invariably roll a 1 when you need him to come through the most. If he does move, he's hitting on 3s like a chump, but wounding infantry models on a 2+. Yes, his rifle can ignore invulnerable saves, but with them being maximum 4+ in 9th edition, that matters less when weight of dice can be brought to bear. His headshot ability is good, meaning if you don't kill the target, you get to roll a d6, and on a 3+, they take a mortal wound, going up to a 4+, and so on. Keep going until either you fail or they die. Spy Mask means they receive no cover bonus, which again is nice, but not amazing. Having used this chap a couple of times with Custodes, he's pretty underwhelming, and I would have much rather had another Golden Boy somewhere, or even some sisters. With the Lookout Sir rule, the Vindicator is the least effective assassin in 9th edition, with a bigger uphill struggle than before. His stratagems aren't that great either. Turbo Penetrator round does D3 mortal wounds on a monster or vehicle if it hits, or double kill, allowing you to shoot again, but must pick a different target. Both 1 CP, both not really worth it. Your anti-psycho assassin remains situational and rather random in my opinion. The Ethereum ability, enemy units can only hit this model on a 6+, goes some way to negating the Lookout Sir rule, but this of course doesn't stop auto-hitting weapons, so this cat can still be barbecued all the way back to Timbuktu. Causing a -2 to psychic tests within 18 inches, this applies to your own units as well, and the FAQ didn't change this. While life drain does mean saving throws can't be taken by models who've been attacked by this unit, the total lack of melee weapons means harsh words aren't going to be enough to make them effective. Unless you're playing Craftworld Eldar or Thousand Suns, the Calexis is a hard pass. The only half-decent strategy they have, Soul Horror, costs 2 CP and stops an enemy unit from fighting till all other units have done so. It's not great, especially when a Judicar, waving his Philosopher's Stone, will do that job for you, which is cheaper and be way more effective on the points. The Lady in Leather is an interesting choice and much more usable than the Calexis. With a Phase Sword which is Strength 4, -3 AP and 2 damage that ignores invulnerable saves, it's great. The Poison Blades are also not bad for weaker foes, giving 1 additional attack but always wounding on 3+ unless against a vehicle. At only -1 AP and 1 damage, however, the Phase Sword is far better. The Neuro Shredder has mortal wound potential, with doing D3 mortal wounds on your wound roll if you score higher than the enemy's leadership on 3d6. Her abilities are great too, with Reign of Confusion. In the first battle round, if your opponent uses a stratagem, roll a d6 and on a 4+, it costs 1 additional CP. This is great and doesn't require your Calidus to be on the field. This can be really powerful against an opponent who front-loads their CP usage in the first battle round. You can pay 2 CP to do it again in a later battle round, making it worth the investment. Hit and Run means you can fall back and still charge with her, while Polymorphine means that when deep striking, the Calidus sets up at d6 +3 away from enemy models rather than a straight up 9 inches. That means at 4 inches, it's a 92% chance of making that charge, but with the average roll being 3 or 4 on the dice with the +3, you're looking at either 72% or a 58% successful charge, respectively. So unless you've been hanging around with some Lamenters, there are some good odds at getting into combat. The other useful stratagem for the Calidus is Acrobatic, allowing you to advance and charge and, until the next battle round, have a -1 to hit rolls for attacks that target that model. Not bad for 1 CP. Assassins are an interesting element to add into your army, and with no penalty for taking them to other army-wide benefits, this gives them more usability. But does it make them worth sinking 100 points into? If you intend on taking one of the 4, it's worth noting their effectiveness in an edition where points efficiency and toughness are important factors. The Lone Ranger just isn't worth the points you pay for him, and the new Lookout Sir rules makes him even less attractive. With the new terrain rules and a lack of non-line of sight shooting, he's essentially an expensive protein-filled guardsman. By far the most worthless of the assassins, and definitely the least useful. Even when facing a Psyker-heavy army, the Calexis just isn't worth the investment. With the lack of melee weaponry, this makes them an even harder sell, in addition with heavy AP minuses. The most useful all-rounder, the Calidus has both tactical and surgical value with decent melee weapons and the stratagems to compound their abilities. With the polymorphine ability potentially shortening charge ranges, the Calidus can be used to great effect by a skilled player, adding some interesting options to your playstyle. Reign of Confusion is a fantastic ability and can really bleed your opponent's CP if it goes off. Madcap Blairy, given the chance, will certainly make an impact, but how much of an impact comes down to the enemy he's going up against. Against hordes, he is a nightmare who could become a real problem if you rely on cheap, low armor save infantry. The Eversaur has some good stratagems up his steroid-filled sleeve and can last longer than the others, making him a great killing model, but expect him to go boom at some point, hopefully in the enemy's face on a 4+. Overall, the Assassins are fun models that can add something different and shake up your army, but I would only recommend them for friendly games. At 100 points each, there are far better things to spend your points on that will go further and give you more bang for your buck. For example, a 5-man intercessor squad with a chainsword sergeant costs the same as one of these guys and will give you much more options throughout the battle while also being obsec. In addition, where you have to think about where your characters are, only the Eversaur and Calidus seem viable, as being able to deep strike and make a successful charge set them above the Vindicare and Calexis. While it's sad to see these two units falling by the wayside, the Eversaur and Calidus are more one-shot weapons that have way more effectiveness and are just straight up better abilities. Well, that's all we have time for. I hope you enjoyed the video, and please do let me know in the comments down below your own thoughts. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. It really does help us out a lot. Take care, and we'll see you next time.